Achte deutsche Rohstoffnacht, natürlich im virtuellen Format im Rahmen der virtuellen Invest. Und wir machen weiter bei der deutschen Rohstoffnacht und freuen uns sehr, zum allerersten Mal die OceanaGold Corporation hier zu haben mit dem Senior Vice Presidenten für Corporate Development, also Unternehmensentwicklung, Sam Pazuki, ein Top-Gold-Produzent mit über 300.000 Unzen Produktion letztes Jahr. Und man will diese ausbauen auf 500.000 Unzen, wenn es geht sogar auf 600.000 Unzen in den nächsten 2 bis 3 Jahren. Und ich werde jetzt mal rübergehen auf Englisch, dass der Sam mich auch versteht. Sam, good morning to Toronto. How are you doing? Great to have you here on board.
Likewise, good to see you again, Jochen.
Yeah, good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us here for the 8th German Resource Night. And you never have been in person on that format. Normally we would have now something like 350 to 400 participants in the room and having a great evening. But unfortunately, we have to do it again virtual. But I just said to our German viewers here that you are a great gold producer with fantastic numbers and a lot of potential. And I would say the floor is yours. And please give us an insight into your terrific company.
Fantastic. No, it's great to have the opportunity to present here, albeit virtual. Hopefully next year we can do it live and have a beer afterwards. But nevertheless, it's good to get the story out, and I hope everyone's doing well. So these are just the cautionary statements which are on our websites, and the presentation should be on our website as well too. OceanaGold overview. So this is the map here. I mean, this is OceanaGold. We are a multinational producer. We have 4 operations, 3 of which are operating. We have 2 offices, one in Australia, which is in Brisbane, and one in Denver. I'm personally based in Toronto. I don't get my own dot, but I am physically based in Toronto. The operations, we've got 2 operations in New Zealand with the McRae's mine on the South Island, this year producing between 155 and 165,000 ounces of gold. That was the first mine that where OceanaGold basically started back in 1990. Over on the North Island is the Waihi operation. This year it's a ramp-up year as we're bringing online a new underground mine called Martha Underground. So it's already starting to produce gold, and will ramp up over the course of the next 12 to 24 months to a steady state run rate. But for this year, 35 to 45,000 ounces of gold. Over in the United States, we have the Hale gold mine, which is in South Carolina and is our flagship operation. This year, we expect it to produce between 150 to 170,000 ounces of gold. And then back over across the Pacific in the Philippines, we have the Didipio operation. It's currently shut down as we are working with the government to renew our FTAA. That's our operating contract. We are hopeful that we will get that in the near term. And once we do that, Didipio will be a significant operation within our portfolio, and we will provide guidance to the market. But overall, for the year in 2021, we'll produce between 340 and 380,000 ounces of gold, and all-in sustaining costs there you can see between 1050 and 1200. We do have copper production, but that's out of the Philippines, so it's certainly a good time to be a copper producer at this juncture, and we're working hard to get Didipio back on. So this is one of my favorite slides here in the deck. I mean, the picture is worth 1,000 words, and you can see here that we have all the right metrics headed in the right direction over the course of the next 5 years. So you can see what we did last year, which was a very challenging year for the company with COVID restrictions, and we also had some inclement weather at Hale, which impacted production. But we're not looking back; we're looking forward. You'll see an increase in production this year, and you'll see a steady increase in production over the course of the next 5 years, as shown there by the gold bars. And more importantly, we are a company that's focused on margin, not so much on the ounces of gold that we produce, but it's on the margin that we generate on the ounces that we produce. And you can see that trend is headed in the right direction as well too, with increasing margins over the next 5 years as costs come down and capital spend also comes down. And then the beautiful part about this which makes this look even better, because we often get asked, how do we make this look better? I mean, it looks great as it is, but how do you make it look better? And that's what you see at the bottom there. It's to bring Didipio on, which at full run rate adds around 110 to 120,000 ounces of gold a year, plus around 12 to 14,000 tons of copper at first quartile all-in sustaining costs. And then WKP, which I'll get into in some detail later on, that's one of our newest discoveries. We call it a game changer. It's got a significant potential to produce a lot of gold at very strong margins. And that currently sits outside of the 5-year plan. So we're working hard to bring it into the 5-year plan and working with stakeholders and government to be able to do that. And again, I'll get into more a little later. ESG, I kind of laugh when I hear so much around ESG because we've been doing this for 30 years. It's nothing new to us. It's what we do every single day across the operational footprint to manage the risks associated with environment, health and safety, social, which is community, stakeholder relations, and then governance. We do this every single day. This thing has been called different things over the last several years. But we do this well, and we communicate well, and that's reflected in our ratings with the different rating agencies. So MSCI, which is one of the main rating agencies, we've got an A rating with them, and there aren't too many gold companies that have an A rating with the MSCI. So we're very proud, but we're not perfect. So we're working on a number of different initiatives to continuously get better and better, and align ourselves with what's happening globally as well. Which is why last year we came out with a climate change statement, which basically we have committed to the Paris Agreement. We're aligned with that, and we'll be looking to basically set targets this year to achieve a net zero emissions by 2050. So that's something we're very proud of, and that's something that we'll be doing some more work on this year. So capital allocation, obviously, it's a very important part of running a business. Our business is mining gold, and it doesn't change the fact that it's a business. And so from our perspective, we've been working hard to secure the balance sheet to continue to reinvest in our business. We believe we've got one of the best organic growth pipelines in the industry. As you saw from the previous slide, 2 slides ago, our increasing margins, higher production is all predicated on advancing these organic growth projects. But as time goes on, as I mentioned before, we'll see a reduction in capital. You can see where we are as at the end of last year in terms of liquidity and total debt. So we don't have a lot of debt, and we've maintained a prudent balance sheet from that perspective. So for us, the cash flows that we are generating from the operations will be reinvested in these accretive organic growth projects. And that will facilitate debt repayments. We don't have any debt repayments due until the end of 2024. And then we're always looking at how we can return capital to shareholders as well. So we used to pay a dividend, but given the challenges we've had in the Philippines, which generates a lot of cash, and given the opportunity to invest in the organic growth, we aren't currently paying a dividend, but I know the board is looking at ways that we could return capital to shareholders. So 2021, busy year. We've got a number of initiatives underway. As I mentioned, ESG is always top of mind. The health and safety, the well-being of our workforce and stakeholders is paramount. Working towards continuous improvement from an ESG execution perspective. Delivering on our commitments is one of the core foundations of this company. We used to be highly regarded as a company who said what they were going to do and do what they said. We've had, again, a couple challenging years, the last couple of years, but we are committed to delivering on what we say we're going to do. And that includes operational excellence and managing our risks effectively. I've spoken about the organic growth, but we're focused on taking production from last year, which was 300,000 ounces, to over 500,000 ounces of gold production. And again, that excludes Didipio. But of course, we are steadfast in our approach to get the operation up and running as quickly and safely as possible, working with all the stakeholders in the country, whether they're local or at the national level. And it's, we feel pretty close, but we'll have to wait and see. At the end of the day, we are dependent on a government to renew this contract. So from a catalyst perspective, you can see there in the first half, second half, we've already delivered on a couple of these catalysts with the Martha Underground feasibility study complete. The mill will be shut down in a couple of weeks, and we'll be refurbishing the SAG mill ahead of continuous milling at the end of the second quarter. And then once that happens, then it'll just be continuous production out of Martha Underground and Waihi going forward. And the second half is catalyst rich with updates at WKP, resource update expected mid-year, pre-feasibility study expected in the second half as well. And then we're advancing a couple more organic growth projects, one at Macraes, which is Golden Point, and the other at Hale, which is the underground. Now, the value proposition. If none of the stuff I mentioned to you before resonates with you, I think this is a slide that possibly could. Why would you buy OceanaGold? I mean, I think the argument I've made so far is a strong one with the organic growth that we have in the pipeline. But when you look at what we're trading at today from an NAV perspective compared to what the analysts have in their numbers, so on a consensus basis and without the DPO, the analysts value this company after all corporate costs, etc., at 1.7 billion US. You can see here our market capitalization is just under 1.2 billion US. So there is a big disconnect there. And then when you look at it from an asset to asset perspective, I mean, we're almost trading the same value as Hale. So we're trading the value of one asset. And you can see that with Hale alone, we'll be increasing production to over 200,000 ounces a year at lower costs as we bring on the underground. Waihi is going to be a significant growth driver, particularly when we get WKP into production. And production could be north of 300,000 ounces a year for several years. And then Macraes, it's a steady operation with steady free cash flow. We just extended the mine life last year. So it had a 2021 mine life. We've extended it up to 2028. And we believe that it'll have further mine life extension potential. And then exploration. I mean, we're spending $25 to $30 million this year on exploration and the drill bit. And we've had a lot of success in exploration thus far. And we'll continue to make those investments across our portfolio. And then Didipio, that's a question mark. So once Didipio comes back on, we expect a significant re-rate. But just to be clear, what you see here in terms of those two top bars, that excludes Didipio. So even without Didipio, we are trading at a significant discount to our NAV. Then you add Didipio to that, basically 110, 120,000 ounce a year gold producer at an AISC of about $500 an ounce byproduct. Take the gold price, multiply by that production, you can see the significant cash flow over the next 10 years. So this is just a snapshot of the organic growth pipeline. So again, we're very busy with different projects across the world. New Zealand is quite full on with advancing different projects which are in different stages. Martha Underground, we've already achieved first production, and we'll continue to ramp that up, as I said, and we'll continue to develop that as we ramp up to full rate production. Golden Point Underground is at Macraes, and we're certainly building that ahead of first production in the fourth quarter. And then WKP is exploration/study, and we'll go through the permitting process there to bring that online as soon as we can. And then at Hale, we're waiting for the final permit to get the underground started in the second half as well too. And I'll get into detail on each of these in just a second here. So Hale Underground, so you can see there in terms of some of the estimated timelines for the project. So we do expect that we will start the surface earthworks in mid-year, start working on the infrastructure that's on the surface mid-year, and then portal construction at the same time. Basically working towards getting first production toward the end of 2022. The resource there, the reserves, right, we've got about 400,000 ounces with resources slightly higher than that, but that includes reserves. And that's mainly a function of drilling the top portion of the horseshoe deposit. The future of Haile is underground. And you can see here from this image, we've got a number of different underground targets. So the pits you see there, they're well defined, and we're actually looking at how we can better optimize some of those pit shells, maybe even lifting the pit floor. For example, a Ledbetter and targeting another underground there, instead of extracting all that waste to move that waste to get to the ore. Maybe looking at it as an underground. But horseshoe, you can see there in red, the top portion is where most of that reserve is. So there's certainly a lot of apologies. The horseshoe is the green part. That's the part that we've drilled out extensively. Then there's the area just underneath that as well too, which we'll be doing some extensive drilling on once we get underground. So the key here is get underground, then start exploring. So we will go after that blue area called Horseshoe Deeps, and then we will build. We believe what we'll do is build a corridor, an exploration corridor, which takes us from Horseshoe all the way over to Palomino. Then we'll test that red area. They've called it Horseshoe Extension. We've previously called it Snakeshoe. But that whole area is mineralized between Palomino, which has an inferred resource, and Horseshoe. And then there's Pisces, which is it seems like it's in that same corridor, but it's set out a little bit. But we will be looking to test that, and that's brand new. So we just discovered that more recently, and we'll be looking to test that once we get underground. And then there's a lot of potential going to the west. We got the Aquarius exploration target, and we believe there's more targets both to the west and to the east. I mean, this is a very prolific gold belt here in the Carolinas. So again, the future of Haile is underground as we push towards bringing this high-grade feed from underground into the mill and driving production over 200,000 ounces a year. The Martha Underground, so this is shifting over to Waihi. It's in the Coromandel. The area, the Coromandel, dates back to the 1800s. There's been around 12 million ounces of gold that's been mined out of the Coromandel, 9 of which has been mined here at Waihi. So this operation in its current form dates back to 1988. And it's changed hands a few times through Normandy, the Newmont, and then we bought this from Newmont in 2015. It had a 3-year mine life, or 2.5-year mine life. And we've now extended the mine life out to 2036. So it was a significant acquisition for us. And Martha Underground, we discovered a few years ago. We've been drilling it out quite extensively. We're building it out, as I said now. We just announced an initial reserve. So we've been speaking mainly just indicated resources and inferred resources. But we just came out last week or 2 weeks ago with our maiden proven and probable reserves there, which you can see is 600,000 ounces. So we'll continue to drill here. I mean, we'll drill here for the next several years, and we expect to grow the resource even further. We've got an exploration target. So this is on top of what we have currently in resource. We've got an exploration target of around 4 to 6 million tons at 4 to 5 grams per ton. So there's a significant potential to convert some of those lightly shaded purple areas into resource. And we do see some smoke even below the areas that we have drilled. There is potential for us to do some deep drilling and look for additional gold. So Martha Underground right now goes out to 2028, but we believe that it will continue to go much longer than that through exploration success. And then WKP, this is the game changer. I mean, this is what it's all about here. It's a significant discovery. Again, this whole region dates back to the 1880s, and the miners back then, the old time miners, they were chasing ounces that were 1, 2, 3 tons or 3 ounces to the ton. That's what they were chasing, and they were backfilling with 5 to 10 grams, which is what we're mining at Waihi. So we're mining some of their remnants, remnant stopes. But here, WKP, they never discovered it. So it's fresh ground, and we've done some drilling on one vein in particular. You can see there in that image there, that's called the East Graben vein over to the right. So that's where most of the drilling has been. And the resource that you see is 99% from East Graben vein system. We haven't delineated where it starts and where it ends. So far, it's 1,000-kilometer strike. It has a 200-meter vertical extent, and we don't know, again, where it starts and where it stops. So it's open in multiple directions, including vertically. And it has a brother and a sister as well, too, which haven't been drilled out. So the one in the middle is T-stream, which Newmont discovered. And then over to the west of that, we've got the Western vein. We are currently drilling just below that line you drew. There's a dot there. We are drilling across the entire area, so hitting the Western vein, T-stream, and over to East Graben to do the full extent of this system. But we're at 1.1 million ounces based on only 35,000 meters of drilling. Watch this space. This is going to be a significant one, is our belief. And if it's anything like Waihi, which again has produced 9 million ounces of gold in the last several years, then this one could. I'm not sure if it's going to be as big, but it could be. That's the potential here. And I should also point out it's only 10 kilometers to the north of Waihi, so we're basically feeding it through the existing mill at Waihi. So for us, this is an underground mine, and that's what we need to develop. But then it'll be processed at a facility at Waihi. So this infrastructure is already pretty much there from the processing perspective. And then Golden Point Underground, as I mentioned, this is under development. It's at McRae's. It'll go into production in the fourth quarter of this year. Eventually replaces our other underground mine. We'll be doing some more drilling here. McRae's is not blessed with the high grade that Waihi is, but it's one of the most efficient operations in the world. And we do a lot to treat the ore, and we're going to be generating this year around $70 to $80 million of free cash flow. So even despite the lower grades, the refractory ore body, McRae's is generating some pretty strong free cash flows this year. And again, the mine life's been extended out to 2028. And then over in the Philippines, we are, again, focused on renewing the contract, the FTAA. We do have some plans in place in terms of restarting the operations. We've given ourselves 12 months to get up to full production. That's not to get to production, it's to get to full production. So there's a number of things we're going to do initially, one of which is recruitment, because we laid off a vast majority of our workforce back in October, November last year. So we do have to recruit people back, train them up, particularly for underground operations. We need to train them up. Make sure that we've got all the COVID protocols in place to safeguard our employees, because COVID is a big issue in the Philippines. We will order all the supplies. We've got around $50 to $60 million of concentrate on the ground at Didipio. This is copper concentrate that we produced already, and we'll start trucking that out right away. And then we'll start the process plant and start feeding it with stockpiles that are on surface. So we have 19 million tons of stockpiles. So once the process plant starts up, then we start feeding it with stockpiles, and we're into production. And again, we've given ourselves 2 to 3 months to get into production, but to get to the full production, we've given ourselves up to 12 months. But that's going to be dependent on how quickly we can get people back to work. And again, I'll sign off here on the my favorite chart. This is, again, it says it all here: growing production, increasing margins, lower costs, lower capital, going from 300,000 ounces a year last year to over 500,000 ounces a year, potentially more. I wish we could put 2026 in here, because WKP comes online and increases that even more. And as I mentioned, Waihi would be an over 300,000 ounce a year producer. So we're focused on doing this, delivering on this. And then again, the cherry on top are the two other things that I've mentioned with the Didipio restarting and bringing WKP online sooner. So that's all I have.
Fantastic, Sam. Thank you very much. Great presentation. And yeah, it looks like that Oceana is really on the growth path, on the increasing margin path, and hopefully then on the dividend path.
Yeah, no, return on capital is important to us. So we certainly are looking at how we can do that. It could be dividend, it could be buyback, it could be both.
Super, fantastic. Sam, thank you very much. Great presentation as said, and yeah, all the best to you, and hope to see you soon, really. And yeah, we move on here then with the 8th German Resource Night. Sam, all the best, and let me say some words in German also. Ja, meine Damen und Herren, vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen hier schon mal wieder. Und ja, die 8. Deutsche Rohstoffnacht geht natürlich noch weiter. Und OceanaGold ist ein tolles Unternehmen. Sie sehen es für dieses Jahr schon eine Produktionssteigerung von lockeren 10-15% wieder. Und man will es weiter ausbauen auf 600.000 Unzen. Das ist genau das, was uns natürlich richtig groß gefällt. Aber vor allen Dingen der Joker auf den Philippinen, DDPO, wenn man das dafür wieder die Zulassung erhält, dann würde ich behaupten, steht die Aktie zusätzlich vor einer markanten Neubewertung. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen und wir machen weiter mit der 8. Deutschen Rohstoffnacht.